Good evening, everyone. In this short video, we are going to be looking at the third scene from Act 5. In the last class, we discussed the previous scene in which we saw, the Scottish lords, the Scottish thanes, meeting together and discussing whether they should support Malcolm or whether they should remain loyal to Macbeth. And finally, they had decided that they will support Malcolm when he comes to Scotland. They will go to him and they will fight against Macbeth. Now in this scene 3, we are going to see what Macbeth is doing in his castle, and basically he is going to be very confident, and he will say that look, I'm not afraid of anyone, let them come, I will fight to the finish. Okay, so that is what we are going to read. So if you haven't read scene 2, go back and read scene 2 before watching the rest of this video. Alright, so let's go to scene 3. So this takes place in Dunsinane, the castle, and we see Macbeth, doctor and some attendants enter the scene. So Macbeth says, "Bring me no more reports, let them fly all." So he says he doesn't want any more news about the war, let all of them fly. Fly means to run away. Let all the messengers, let all the people who are supposed to support him, let them all leave. He doesn't care about them. "Till Burnham would remove to Dunsinane, I cannot taint with fear." So he says, I am not going to be afraid until the forest at Burnham shall come to the castle at Dunsinane. "What's the boy Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. Fear not, Macbeth, no man that is born of woman shall ever have power upon thee." So he is remembering that prophecy, the second batch of prophecies that he obtained from the witches. And according to the witches, nobody who is born from woman can defeat Macbeth. So he says Malcolm was also born from a woman, so he cannot have any chance of hurting or defeating Macbeth. So he says, "Then fly, false thanes, and mingle with the English epicures." So he says, let all the lords, let all the thanes who are supposed to be loyal to him run away from him. Let them join with the English epicures. Epicure means a person who is an opportunist, somebody who takes the opportunity to defeat somebody when they are weak. Okay, so according to Macbeth, the English people, the English soldiers, they are just here to take advantage of the political situation in Scotland and defeat him. Okay, so let them all join with the English epicures. And he says, "The mind I sway by and the heart I bear shall never sag with doubt nor shake with fear." So he says, my mind, the mind with which I sway means I rule. Okay, so the mind with which he rules and the heart with which he takes decisions, both of them will never have any doubt or fear. Right, so he's completely confident about his powers, and he says that nobody can defeat him. So at this time, a servant enters, and Macbeth says to the servant, "The devil damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon, where gottest thou that goose look?" So this servant, on his face, Macbeth is able to recognize a feeling of fear. Okay, so that goose look here means a look of fear. Okay, so Macbeth is saying, "Why are you looking so afraid?" And the servant says, "There is 10,000, 10,000 soldiers." That is what he is about to say. But Macbeth interrupts him and says, "Geese, villain? Are you saying that there are 10,000 geese outside the castle?" And the servant completes his sentence. He says, "No, sir, there are 10,000 soldiers outside the castle." Macbeth says. Yeah. So he says, "Go prick thy face and overred thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. What soldiers, Patch? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counselors to fear. What soldiers, Wayface?" So Macbeth is not able to believe this. So he is going on abusing this servant. He says, "Why do you have such a white fearful face. You look like, your face looks like a linen cloth, right? Like a bed sheet, so white. So why are your cheeks so fearful? There is no way that these many soldiers can be outside the castle. But then the servant gives him the right answer. He says, the English force, so please you, sir. So he says, this is the English soldiers who have finally surrounded your castle. Macbeth says, take thy face hence. I don't want to see your face. Get out of here. Exit servant. So now Macbeth is calling another attendant of his called Satan. Okay, Seyton. So this word Satan, this name, this is actually a pun on the word Satan, Satan, right? So Macbeth's servant is called Satan. So just like earlier, Macbeth was described as Bellona's bridegroom and Valor's minion. Here, in the last part of the play, Macbeth is calling Satan his friend and his attendant, right? So that shows us how evil or how corrupted, how sinful Macbeth has become. Look, he says, Satan, I am sick at heart when I behold Satan, I say. This push will cheer me ever, or deceit me now. I have lived long enough. My way of life is fallen into the seer. The yellow leaf, and that which should accompany old age as honor, love, obedience, troops of friends, I must not look to have, but in their stead curses, not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath with which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not, Satan. So as he is calling his servant Satan, he says, this is the last push, this is the last attack. Either this attack is going to give him happiness, cheer forever, it's going to make him victorious forever, or else it is going to disseat him. It is going to remove him from the throne, right? His seat is going to be taken away. And then he says, I have lived a very long life. I am satisfied with my life. My way of life is fallen into the seer. Seer is, in a field, when you are plowing the field, all these furrows are, made, in order to plant the seed. So in this seer, essentially when you plow the field, all the old dead leaves and crops, they are all, put into the furrows. So Macbeth imagines that, just like a wilted old leaf is plowed into this furrow, his life is also now at the last phase, right? Now his life is like a yellow leaf which is about to fall. But he says, usually when people are old, they have so many advantages, right? They have people who honor them, people who love them, people who are obedient to them, like grandchildren and all. When you're old, they will be very happy to obey your commands and things like that, right? And you also have troops of friends, so many friends to help you. But Macbeth says, I must not look to have any of these things. I won't have any. But instead, what will he have? People who curse him. They don't curse him loud, but they curse him from deep in their heart, right? And you have Macbeth is surrounded by people who are full of mouth honor, right? They say things which are very honorable, but they will not obey anything that he says. Okay, so he says, he again calls Satan, and Satan enters, the servant, he enters. So Satan says, what is your gracious pleasure? Macbeth says, what news more? What more news can you tell me? Satan says, all is confirmed, my lord, which was reported. I will fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armor. Okay, so he says, I am not going to surrender. I will fight until my flesh is removed from my bones. Hacked means cut away. I need to wear my armor. But Satan says, it is not needed yet. You don't need your armor yet. But Macbeth says, I will put it on. Send out more horses, scur the country around, hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armor. And then he turns to the doctor and he says, how does your patient, doctor? So basically he says, send out the soldiers to capture anybody who is talking anything against him and hang them. And while that is happening, he is going to put on his armor and get ready to fight. So he's turning to the doctor. We have already met the doctor in the earlier scene. This is the same doctor who is treating Lady Macbeth. So now Macbeth is asking the doctor, how is Lady Macbeth doing? How is your patient? So and the doctor says, not so sick, my lord, as she is troubled with thick fancies that keep her from rest. So basically, Lady Macbeth is not very sick. It is not a physical disease that she has. It is just that she is troubled by all these fancies. Fancies means imaginations, right? So she's imagining so many bad things that she is not able to get any rest, any sleep. Macbeth says, cure her of that. Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased, pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote, cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart. So basically he's asking, can you just cure her? She has a mind which has a disease. Just pluck out the memory, which is causing her sadness from her brain. Just erase the troubles from her mind and give her some sort of drug which will make her forget these problems and take away the weight from her heart. Okay, so this is what Macbeth wants for her, for Lady Macbeth. So even at this time, we understand that Lady Macbeth is so dear to Macbeth, right? So even though he is evil and she is also very evil, they have a great bond between them, right? He wants nothing but peace for her. That is all that she wants. That's all that Macbeth wants for Lady Macbeth. Okay, the doctor says, therein the patient must minister to himself. So he says, I cannot cure her. This is something that the patient must cure herself. Okay, so Macbeth says, throw physic to the dogs. I will none of it. So he says, if this is what medicine can do, physic means medicine. Okay, if medicine cannot help her, then throw it to the dogs. I don't want it. Come, put my armor on, give me my staff. Satan, send out. So he's saying, if medicine is not able to cure her, then I will find a solution. I will use war. I will use violence to solve all these problems. So he takes his staff, his armor, and then he turns to the doctor again and he says, the Danes, the lords are all escaping from me. And he continues, come, sir, dispatch, if thou couldst, doctor, cast the water of my land, find her disease, and purge it to a sound and pristine health. I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again. Pull it off, I say. What rhubarb, cyme, or what purgative drug would scour these English hens? Hearest thou of them? So now now Macbeth is asking the doctor, do you have any medicine that is going to take away these English soldiers from Scotland? Can you cure Scotland by casting these English soldiers away from her? Okay. And then he is asking, have you heard of the English forces? And the doctor says, I, my good lord, your royal preparation makes us hear something. So he says, yes, I have heard something because you are preparing for war. Macbeth says, bring it after me. I will not be afraid of death and bane till Burnham Forest come to Dunsinane. So he says, I am now going into the battlefield, bring my armor behind me. I will wear it and I will basically not be afraid of anything. Death or bane. Bane is curse. Okay, I won't be afraid of any curse or death until the forest of Burnham comes to the castle at Dunsinane. Now the doctor has an aside. That's the last part of this scene. The doctor turns aside to the audience and he says, "Were I from Dunsinane away and clear, profit again should hardly draw me here." So he says, "I wish I was away from Dunsinane. I wish I was far away from this place. Even if somebody gave me a lot of profit, a lot of money, I will never come here again." Okay, so this is a cursed place. I wish I was far away from this place. Okay. So that is the content of Act 5, Scene 3. So the important parts of this scene is the relationship that we understand between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and also the conversation between Satan. The name Satan here in this scene is, it is a pun on the word Satan, Satan, which shows how evil and how, sinful Macbeth has become. And one more important thing from this scene is the confidence with which Macbeth is treating all these events. He says, because of the witch's prophecy, nobody who is born from a woman will be able to defeat him. And also he's extremely confident that nobody will be able to defeat him unless the forest of Burnham comes to the castle at Dunsinane. Okay. So that is it for this video. We will discuss the next scene in a different video.